Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to have a look at the brand new update for the Fenix A321 that has just been released a couple of days ago. Now this update focuses on a lot of things. Some of the stuff that do stand out in my opinion are the massively improved takeoff performance code and addition of the light sensors and a bit of stuff like that. Now on the 319 we've also seen some drag adjustments, but we are gonna have a look at that in a dedicated video. So today we are going to have a look at the A321, and there is indeed quite a bit of new stuff there that's been added on that one as well. Now before we start with anything else though, let's go ahead and have a look at the aircraft that we are going to fly, and it is indeed the Hughes by Horizon livery for the Iberia A321. And if we are gonna board that one, you will notice that they have once again done an excellent job with their 3D model additions, not just in the cabin as you can see over here, for example with the wall dividing the business class from the economy class, and for example the seat cushions in the business class and stuff like that. But if we go over to the cockpit, you will see that this is indeed the EIS1 visual mod for the aircraft that we have added in the cockpit now. And we also have a couple of goodies down here on the pedestal. Let's be honest over here, this is much closer to what an actual Airbus pedestal looks like in flight. Few people make the effort to really tidy them up all the time, and many of them just have things like a load sheet flying around over here. By the way, very nice addition that the load sheet is actually signed by the captain, which is something they do need to do once the load sheet comes out of the printer. And we also have some nice little food over here. Yep, that is pretty much what a flight deck like this would probably look like. So very, very cool to see Hughes by Horizon doing these kind of things. And what's also new is that we finally get our weather when we import the Lufthansa flight plan. So if we have a look at it over here, finally we have the weather section back using the Lufthansa flight plan layout, which is currently my favorite one, and which Simbrief has recently updated in order to match the real-world Lufthansa layout now. So that's pretty cool. I'm very much looking forward to this flight. There's a lot of smaller things in there as well. I'm not going to go over the entire changelog, but I will go over an entire flight from Madrid over to Bilbao, which is just a quick 35-minute hop in the A321 over here. Flown daily, actually several times daily by Iberia in the real world. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. Alright, we'll start with the safety inspection. So engine master, levers off, start selector, norm, weather radar is off, and auto and calibrated. Okay, landing gear lever down, and the wiper selectors are both off. Alright then, battery greater than 25.5 coming on, and external power coming on as well. It's some 25 degrees over here, so I will just bring up the APU straight away. Let's give the aircraft a small moment to power up over here, and then we'll go. A small note on the mod itself, and a question that did come up when I posted my last video in the Lufthansa A319 EIS1 mod. It is the visual mod only, so we've got the new displays over here, but we do not, for example, have the actual EIS1 ECAM and stuff like that. So the instruments itself are based on the EIS2, but I still find this to look pretty cool. Alright, so while that stuff is going on, let's go ahead and have a look into our weather conditions for the flight. So destination Bilbao, as you can see, has very good weather conditions all over, nothing to worry about at all. So I'd say we are just going to take our standard fuel here. The alternates are good as well, Santander, which is our main alternate, good weather all over. Madrid 27 degrees already, so it is pretty warm. And that means we are going to start the APU in a few moments. Looking into our flight plan, if we have 4,544 kilos takeoff fuel plus 203 taxi, that brings us up to 4.8. Add the APU fuel to that, and then we'll end up with 5,000 kilos of fuel. And I think that should be pretty much all we need here. So fuel, let's say 5,000, and then apply and load, and you can use GSX for that one, please. Okay, so the aircraft is up and running. Then let's do the APU fire test, which is looking good. And let's go ahead and start up the APU here. So master on, and the start switch can come on as well. IRS mode selectors 1, 2 and 3. Cockpit lights, think we can pretty much turn them all off over here, as we don't really need any of those. I will turn on the PA for you guys. I did download the voice set for Iberia from the cabin Discord. Really neat set. And something that does seem new to me as well is that with the new update, those light sensors actually do seem to work. So let's go ahead and turn them up over here. Oh yeah, that sounds Spanish to me. Right, DCDUs can come on as well. Here we go. Wonderful. Okay, so they say they have hugely improved the takeoff data calculation. So let's go ahead and have a look. We are going to depart Madrid on runway 36 right, synchronize the load sheet, synchronize the weather, and let's take a Yankee 3 intersection down here, leaving at 3,345 meters. Flaps 2 takeoff, 47 degrees, 159, 161, 161. That does look reasonable to me. Slight tailwind component here, but that is completely fine. Okay, performance limit 91.2 tons, so not a problem at all. Then, let's go ahead and do the recall for 3 seconds. Okay, nothing in the recall. So, nothing on the MEL, everything is working. The aircraft configuration is CFM powered EIS1 analog standby instruments. We do have automatic nav on go around, and we do not have FLS fitted to this one. No OEBs, and with that the aircraft is accepted for flight. Okay, so oxygen looks good, the hydraulic quantity looks good, the engine oil quantity is looking good. Flap position agrees with the lever, and the spoilers are retracted. Okay, park and brake off. Let's test the standby system. Works fine, we get 1000 psi, and park and brake back on again. Now you can see this reduces the accu pressure somewhat. We could recharge it if we wanted to. Just run the yellow elec pump for that for a bit. So system pressurizes and the accumulator is recharged. Easy as that. And it really goes that fast. It really does, on the real one as well. Okay, so APU bleed coming on, probably the most important thing on the entire aircraft today. So, fire test, looking good on engine number 1, and looking good on engine number 2. So, then to our main panel, let's go ahead and request our current weather conditions. So, flight init. That does take a little bit longer now, does it? I think it was a bit quicker than that previously, but the real one can actually take quite a bit longer even, so that is good to see that they did it this way now. Okay, so we do have several load sheets here once again. Let's just take the latest one. No, not the weather, but the latest load sheet. Okay, edition number 2, Iberia 04 Golf Papa on the Echo Charlie India Lima Papa, which is the one that we are sitting in. 2 pilots, 5 cabin crew, very nice. And the rest of this stuff is looking good. 2,600 kilos underload. Alright. That looks good to me. And now looking at the weather, 140 at 5, few clouds, 27 degrees, QNH 1013. Alright, so 1013 is set. Then we can continue with our panel setup. Very neat animation there. Alright, 18th of September when I'm filming this. Refueling is also just finished. Let's go ahead, turn on the belts and the pumps. Okay, so quick look over all our systems. I wonder why it started on the fuel page. That doesn't make much sense. Engine page is where we want to start. Alright, just a quick check to make sure that everything is as we expect it to be. 2,000 feet is the field elevation, as you can see on the altimeter, so nothing to worry about there. Alright, cabin temperature is under control, 24 degrees, nice. Alright, everything looking good. Then down to our radios. Right, and on into the FMS. So, aircraft status A321-200, CFM56 with the current database. Let's initialize our flight in here, and it's gonna be India Bravo Echo 04 Golf Papa. Cost index 35, cruise flight level, let's see. $260. Okay, so for our departure, we're going off Madrid, and it's gonna be a runway 36 right with a Robedio 1 Romeo departure, 3 Romeo by now. And for our arrival into Bilbao, we got quite a couple of them available. I do believe the Domingo 1 Quebec leads us onto the ILS Yankee, but let's go ahead and cross-check that. So, Domingo 1 Quebec, here it is. Via Sejam towards Albis. And when we're at Albis, let's have a look. Zulu starts out of Karma. Yankee also starts at Karma. Okay. Well, in that case, let's just review those arrivals. No, we don't want to do that one. Okay, that one actually also takes us to Karma. Fairly hard to read though. I do believe it is the one going to the right over here, so Domingo 1 Quebec arrival. And then we can take the ILS Zulu. Always hard to find out, but I think that's it. So, Domingo 1 Quebec from Karma. Okay, insert that. So, engine outset, fairly easy, straight out for 25 miles. So that's going to be the Madrid X... I don't know, let's call it X8. Doesn't really matter, does it? So, LEMD 36 right / runway track is 353. Or is it 0? Could be 0 as well. Let's go ahead and have a look in the chart. So, ground chart, and then we have far too many of them. Far too many of them, but that's the one we're looking for. Okay, 360 is the runway heading. /25, and here we go. Okay, store that one. So let's try again. Mat X8. Here we go. Alright, hold over there. 360 inbound right hand turns. And if we need to do an immediate return, let's prepare the approach. So our departure takes us towards the east. That means if we need to come back, we're gonna land on runway 32 right, and it's gonna be the ILS Whiskey approach for that one. Okay, that was the easy part. Programming the engine outset. Now, let's go ahead and also insert the extended centerline over here, and the actual waypoint over here. Okay. In terms of nav aids, do we need anything for the departure? I don't really think so, but let's be safe over here. Let's also go ahead and add that taxi routing chart here. So then, departure. And we're looking for the Robidio 3 Romeo departure. So here it is. Okay, straight ahead 2500, right hand turn out, and then towards Robidio. Well, let's go ahead and tune one of those over here, RBO. Here we go. Okay, LEMD 36 right, and then we can continue on with our performance initialization. Let's go ahead and take that straight from the preliminary load sheet. So we're looking at 68, actually 69 exactly. And the center of gravity for that is 26.9. Okay, 5,000 kilos of fuel. And then we can move over to our flight plan again. Looking for the fuel figures now. And 0.3, 1.0, 1.3. So 0.3. 1 and 1.3. Here we go. Leaves us with 11 minutes extra. That's perfectly fine. Alright, wind data, request. And then we can go ahead with our takeoff performance. And we had calculated that over here. So we're looking at a config 2 takeoff with 47 degrees flex. So 247, and the takeoff speed's 159, 161, 161. So, back at my old airline, they wanted us to fly noise abatement procedure number 1 here in Madrid. So, well, let's go ahead and do that. Now, looking at the chart, airport elevation is in 2,000 feet. So we're looking at a thrust reduction at 1,500 and acceleration in 5,000. So that's going to be 3,500 thrust reduction and 5,000 acceleration. Here we go. Engine out acceleration 1500 AGL is looking good. Don't really need to insert anything here, do we? No. Okay, well then let's go ahead and cross-check our route. So, climb on the runway track, 2,500 feet, then a right turn Mike Delta 047, maximum 210 above 2,900. And we've got the runway track 2,500, right turn, Mike Delta 047 above 2,900 and 210. Then we continue on towards Robidio, above 12,000 feet. And here we have it, Robidio above 12,000. Perfectly capable of doing that, thanks to the speed limit point here. Just wondering why it gives us 210 knots at the speed limit point. Well, doesn't look like there's an actual reason for that. If we got 181 over here and are above 5,000 and we're accelerating from here, sure enough we'll be able to accelerate more than 30 knots in 9 nautical miles over here. That might be a little bug. Okay, well, it doesn't matter though. Let's just leave it at that for now. Okay, our SID is checked. Then the initial climb clearance will lead us to 13,000 feet, and that happens to be the transition altitude as well. Here we go, 13,000. Nice boarding music, by the way. I hear electric guitars, I'm happy. Okay. So, if we are all ready with everything, let's go ahead and get rid of that table. And then we can do our departure briefing, please. Okay, so, Runway 36 right, full length, Robidio 3 Romeo departure, climbing 13,000, MSA. Oh, boarding is completed, nice. Okay, so MSA 10,000, and as you can see, the engine outset takes us straight ahead, but we'll stay clear of the mountains over here. They do come thereafter, though. Okay, so MSA 10,000, and we've got 10 minutes of extra fuel. Then, no hotspots for the taxi, stop margin for ejected takeoff should be more than sufficient. Engine outset straight at 25 miles, and if we need to return, we can come back to Madrid straight away. We are below the maximum landing weight, so an immediate re-landing on runway 32 right is possible, and also planned in our secondary flight plan. In terms of special and non-standards, well, we do have that speed restriction on the first waypoint after the turn, but with Noise Abatement Procedure 1, that really shouldn't be too much of an issue. Noise Abatement Procedure 1 may be something to mention here as a special as well, since we really don't do it that often. So let's not be surprised if the initial climb just takes a little while. Do you have any threats for the departure? Nope. Beautiful. Okay, cockpit preparation checklist, please. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity is 4,980 kilos balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs, nav, and barrel ref QNH 1013. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. Welcome aboard flight Iberia 442 towards Bilbao. The flight time today 35 minutes at a cruising altitude of 26,000 feet. Would like to thank you very much for being with us today. Sit back, relax, enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more comfortable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. The cabin crew will shortly point out the safety features on board this Airbus A321. I would like to ask for your full attention, as it's not just for your own safety, but also for the safety of the passengers sitting around you. Thank you for your attention, and again, welcome aboard. Okay, that's everyone dealt with. So, please prepare the aircraft already. And then we should have our final load sheet. And indeed we do, in compliance with edition number 2. Zero fuel weight, 69 tons, which matches. And 26.9 gives us a takeoff CG of 26.5, which is somewhere over here, so trim up 0.5 should work just fine. Here we go. Okay, accept. 73.7, 73.8, that's close enough. Alright, looking good. Ground from flight deck? Go ahead. Please confirm all ground checks completed, doors and hatches closed, and the bypass pin is inserted and the aircraft ready for push. Alright, Captain, the ground checks are completed, bypass pin is inserted, and stand by for pushback. We have a lift up. Please confirm you're clear to lift you up. Park brake set, you're clear to lift. Roger. Stand by. Okay, before start checklist. Park and brake. Set, takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 159, VR 161, V2 161, flex 47. Windows. Closed. Beacon on, before start checklist complete. Okay, ground flight. Go ahead. So, we are ready to push and start. Facing south, park and brake set. Roger, release park and brake. Park and brake released. Start on the push and stand by for engine start. Standing by. So I noticed when the nose came up for the lifting here, we started to hear this sound. This clicking sound. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what that is. I'm suspecting it might be one of those vibrator sounds for the standby altimeter. We used to have something like that on the 737. I never heard it on an Airbus though. but I do have to admit I never flew Airbuses with the conventional instruments. So if you know more about that sound, if it indeed comes from the vibrator or from somewhere else, do let me know in the comments below. Would definitely be interested to know that. Okay, ground flight. So you're clear to start engines. 2 of them, 1 in sequence. Engine 2 start. Okay, pushback complete, set park and brake. Park and brake set. Starting engine 1. Clear 1. Okay, now the sound stopped. Now that they lower us back down. Okay, good start 2, engine 1 start. Interesting, I really have no idea what exactly that sound was. Never heard it before. This was the first time I heard it. So, engine started progress, ground equipment is getting removed. We have 2 good starts, you're clear to disconnect, show me the sign on the right side please and have a good day, bye bye. Okay, here we go. Good start 2. Okay, let's see. Can we see the ramp agent already? Yep, there she is, holding the sign. Perfect. After start checklist. Anti-ice, off. Ecom status, checked. Pitch trim. That's 26.5%. Radar trim, neutral. After start checklist complete. Okay, so for the taxi then. Madrid is a little bit of a complicated airport there, but ours should be fairly easy. So we're gonna go south over here, then via Sierra, onto Alpha, and then all the way straight. And now it gets fuzzy. Now they make you go left, north on Mike. So that's what the taxi route looks like for us. Sometimes they also make you go via Alpha. That can really depend. But normally they have their standardized taxi routing for that. Okay, so we're down here. So southbound, left on the Sierra, and then we have a little bit of time to worry about the further taxi route. So lights on, brake off. Brake check. Pressure 0. Both sides are clear. By the way, the scenery we are using is made by Latin VFR. Many people say don't buy anything from them. I don't agree with that. They actually do some pretty good sceneries. Okay, approaching Romeo 4. Well, that's up here, that's not the one. We gotta go further south and then left onto Sierra over here. So we are more or less on the apron, so speed maximum 15 knots. And then it should be the next taxiway onto the left-hand side. By the way, I slightly got to correct what I said earlier. We are going to go via Sierra, Mike 15, Mike. So basically Sierra, Mike, and then all the way up here to the holding point. And that is the standard taxi routing. At some points I do notice that it's been a little while since I've flown the 737. I've been a regular visitor here in Madrid, even though we always parked at the southern terminal and not at the Iberia terminal here. But sometimes I do notice that I start getting a little bit rusty. Okay, so we are gonna go to the left over here via Sierra 4. So 10 knots we have. So in Spain they have some rather interesting taxiway systems. As you can see, we've got all these numbers on those taxiways here, which define certain parts of the taxiways. However, ATC will always refer to them just as, for example, Sierra, Mike, Alpha, and so on, regardless of those numbers. The numbers are getting ignored. That's not something that many people are used to, and unfortunately that is something that VATSIM controllers sometimes do wrong, as they name all those numbers. Now, I can kinda understand their reason for that, because many flight sim pilots just aren't aware of how to use those taxiway structures properly, and therefore, if they don't hear the numbers, they're gonna start searching one without a number. Okay, so 36 left, right. But we are going to do the left turn over here onto Mike. So we're clear on the right side. That's where I always used to come from when I flew to Madrid. Okay, so onto Mike and then straight ahead to the right again. And this is still Mike. So taxiway Mike actually takes several turns over here. As I mentioned, it can be somewhat confusing if you don't make yourself familiar with those structures before you start preparing for the flight. Okay, this is looking good now. Sometimes I find it a little bit strange that they barely make 36 left available for departures going eastbound. So we got to taxi all the way around to runway 36 right. Madrid certainly is one of those airports where you can easily taxi for 20 minutes straight, or even 30 minutes. I think my record is 35 minutes taxi time in Madrid, but we had a couple of aircraft ahead of us, had to give way to a couple more, and then had to wait a bit at the holding point. So, oh, hello to a little bit of grass down here. On top of that, what makes Madrid a bit special is that you've got the hot and high conditions in summertime here. It's 2,000 feet elevation, and in summer they can often reach 40 degrees. At 26 we are pretty lucky right now, but then again it's mid-September already, so things start to cool down a bit again. So now comes a little trap as we're taxiing along here. As you can see, Mike makes a turn at the end, but there used to be a taxiway over here. So there is still asphalt over there leading onto Alpha. So if you just look at the charts, then it can look like, oh yeah, I just go all the way straight to the end and then left. But no, if you do that, you go straight over here and you end up on Alpha, where you are not supposed to be. Okay, so left onto here, still on Mike. And then straight ahead to the end, and then 36 right is going to be our departure runway. Okay, this is looking much better now. Maximum span 65 meters is not a problem for us. We're just shy of 36. Okay, flight control track. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. It just doesn't want to go straight, it seems, today. Okay, not a problem. No changes to the takeoff briefing. Nope. Okay, perfect. Taxi checklist. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conf 2, radar and predictive wind shear. On and auto, engine start selector, norm, ECA memo, takeoff no blue. Taxi checklist complete. So recently someone asked me again if I just read those checklists without actually checking anything. Of course not. But the trick is that you can see everything on the flight instruments. Okay, that's the cabin actually ready just now. You can see it does take a while. So you can see everything on the flight instruments. Like if the engine mode selector wouldn't be in the norm position, then you would see the ignition message. If the radar and predictive wind shear wasn't on, you would either not see the tilt indication here, or you would have the amber predictive wind shear message on the ECAM. So like that you can check everything right from the instruments on pretty much all of the checklists. The only one that comes to my mind where you can't do that is the packs. Of course you could go into the status page and check for the packs, but for them I find it easier just to look at the overhead panel. Okay, so via Yankee 1, line up runway 36 right. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Line up checklist. Takeoff runway 36 right, full length, TCAS. TARA, you could see that by those little dots over here not appearing. And packs 1 and 2 off, lineup checklist complete. Iberia 04 Golf Papa, runway 36 right, clear for takeoff to wind 140 at 5. Okay, sorry to my Spanish friends, I'll leave that accent out, I'll promise. Takeoff. Manflex 47 SS auto thrust blue. Thrust set. They don't have a localizer on this runway in this direction. That's the reason why you don't get runway showing over here. One 100 knots. Checked. V1, rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav. Checked. And now we hear the sound again. Interesting. Looks like that plays whenever the nose gear is up then. So, a little bit of manual flight here. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Pack 1 on. Pack 2 on. So 210 knot restriction on this one, and I think that'll fit quite well with the acceleration and the noise abatement anyway. Flaps 1, speed checked. Flaps 1. Flies really nice, doesn't it? I like it. I very much like it. Especially with those instruments. Even though it's not 100% accurate in EIS1 plane, it gives it somewhat of that feeling, doesn't it? Okay, flaps 0. Speed checked. Flaps 0. Alright, looking good. I really like these kinds of views here. It's looking nice. It's looking really nice. Alright, here we go. Autopilot 1. Now here's something to take into consideration, and that is the maximum tire speed limit of the aircraft. So you could see on the takeoff, we had a little bit of tailwind, but they do still use the northern configuration with tailwind at times in Madrid, so that is nothing uncommon. But that combined with the high altitude and high temperatures leads to a rather high true airspeed, while the indicated airspeed is still quite a bit lower. And we could see that very nicely on our takeoff, that the ground speed when we started the rotation was about 178, while the indicated was just 161. And we didn't want to exceed the tire speed limit here, 185-ish. So for that reason, we just went airborne before that. So we were actually pretty close to our performance limits on this takeoff here. But it's always good to have something like that in your mind as well when you're operating in conditions like we are right now. Right, 10,000. I think we can release our passengers here. Should stay mostly smooth. So 12,000 over Robadillo, we'll make that easily. I'll tell you what, I'll go into terrain over here due to the mountains. And then clear and copy. So, cruising 260, optimum 360, maximum 372. We can insert Bilbao runway 30 over here, 151 miles to go. Alright, and then all the way up to our cruising level, 260 please. How long is the cruise gonna be? Yeah, not all that long. But that's somewhat expected, isn't it? So, approaching Robadillo, we're just about making 12,000 here, so no problem at all making that restriction. And here we go. Perfect. Set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 130. Now. Checked. Alright, perfect. And that's it. So with that, we are up and on the way. Let's go ahead and explore the cabin a little bit, shall we? While we do have a bit of time still available. Nice, you can actually hear the announcement inside the cabin now. Has that just been added with this update, or has that already been in the previous one? I do know it didn't used to work at some time. Let's try and find a nicer seat, shall we? One where we have a little bit of wing view on there as well. XL seats in the economy. Yeah, that's a good view, isn't it? At least, you can surely not complain about legroom when you're sitting over here. Well, and you might have one of the best possible views if you're sitting right over here. And if she's looking pretty. Alright, you didn't hear me say that. I do apologize to any flight attendant out there. Of course it's not that serious, is it? Well, so... those economy seats over here, man. They must be strange to sit in with the curtain directly in front of them. Let's take a seat over here. Oh yeah. I'm not sure if I would want to sit here, even though I do imagine in the real world they probably have a little bit more space between the first economy row and the last business row if you've got a divider in place over there. I certainly do think so. But that would probably be rather hard to model for the Horizon Sim guys, because technically speaking, you can see the seat models over here and here are still the same. They just changed the cushion and put the dividers in place, and that is how they created the business class in this aircraft. Nonetheless, I do think that this looks great, just like the A321 in its entirety and in its length. Maybe something they can do in the future is to add the forward attendant panel here as well, at least one of those screens. It's a pretty nice livery though, having all those custom stencils on here. I like it. Right, for now let's go back into the flight deck though. Close you up and let's take a seat. We're about 60 miles from our top of descent, so we might just as well start working forward a bit. So, Bilbao, approach, ILS Zulu runway 30, here it is. And maybe ground shot as well. Airport info and parking stands, that looks good. Might get a nice little shortcut over here. Or rather, I'm fairly sure we will get one, so let's just start working our arrival now already. So, Bilbao, weather, meta, yes, send. Let's see what we have. Weather data, 350 at 6, good visibilities, broken clouds in 4,800, 22 degrees, 1015. Is pre-selected. So we can remain on runway 30. So, starting out at Domingo towards Sejam. We have that, and then via Lecto towards Kama. So we've got Lecto and then Kama above 6,000. And from there we start the ILS approach already. There we go, ILS Zulu 30 from Kama, 6,000. There's a little note there. Okay, 296, 3.9 miles towards Sarah. And then out of Sarah we got 4,900. And thereafter starting the approach out of 4,400. They don't even mention Sarah by name here, but that's fine. So 4,900 and then 4,400 for the final approach. Very good. 3.4 degree glide, a little bit steeper than usual, but shouldn't be any problem in the A321. And the missed approach. Climb to 2 DME Bravo Lima Victor after the VOR, then turn right and follow radial 316 to 4000, turn right to the VOR, then direct to Sarah, climbing 6000. Okay, so what do we have? That looks strange. And certainly not what it should look like. The description down here is correct though. But that track 133, that is nonsense. Speed, vertical speed, 1000 to go. Okay, there's something wrong down here in the coding. Up here it's correct, heading 346 to intercept, Bravo Lima Victor radial 316, but that track 177 here, that's incorrect, and that causes the line drawing to go that wrong. Okay, we'll prepare to do that thing manually, just in case. So Bravo Lima Victor 316 goes in here, and Domingo can stay active over there. About 30 is in. So descent speed 310 knots looks okay. 1015, 22 degrees, and 350 at 6. Okay, minimum Cat Delta 449. Okay, All-Star. Mach. The real one always goes simultaneous over here. I never saw it do that different. Okay, I'll cruise. And we're up. Okay, I'll do config full due to the slightly steeper than normal path. So config full will give us a little bit more drag, which in turn gives us better speed control on a steeper path like this. MSA 6200, missed approach altitude however just 6000. So in case of engine out we're gonna accelerate at 6000. Extra fuel 18 minutes, we'll make a copy of the active into the secondary and that's it. So the airport itself, runway 30 has quite a displaced threshold over here. It's just 2,600 meters. So taking the display threshold in account, do we have some numbers down here? 30. Not really. Okay, landing beyond threshold, runway 30 is just 2,140 meters. So really not all that long. Okay, let's go ahead and do some mathematics then. So, landing weight, we're at 72.3 now. Let's calculate 72 tons. Okay. So, low order brake doesn't work. Not even with manual thrust. Then we gotta take medium. And reverse us on. And that's the only configuration we can do. So, medium it is. Okay, so that's all we can do, isn't it? Well then, let's go ahead and take a little shortcut. Let's fly direct to Karma. Insert. And here we go. So, top of descent in 7 miles. Alright. Well then, let's go for the briefing, shall we? I tell you what, let's first of all go ahead and start our descent already. Make it level 150 at first. Speed descent, alt flight level 150 blue. Okay. Fine, so we have an MSA of 7,000 in the south due to the mountains that are just in front of the field. I will go terrain display for that. Yeah, inbound to Karma for the ILS Zulu approach runway 30, minimum 449. The go-around trajectory is straight at 2DME Bravo Lima Victor, then a right-hand turn, join the radial 316 outbound until we reach 4,000 feet, and then a right-hand turn back to the VOR, kilometer 6,000. Extra fuel, 18 minutes. Beautiful. We'll fly a flight director guided approach with manual thrust. Landing config full. Stop margin is about 600 meters-ish. Maximum reverse and auto brake medium. We plan to exit the runway, most likely on the first rapid exit taxiway to the right-hand side, and I don't see any hotspots for the taxi in. Special operations? Well, 22 degrees. I don't think the brakes are gonna get too warm, so that shouldn't be any problem. And non-standard operation? Well, over here we have the problem that the go-around path is not drawn correctly in the preview, so I'm not exactly convinced that the automatic guidance on the missed approach is gonna work. For this reason, if we have to go around, we're gonna fly the go around using heading select and navigate manually. In order to do that, I have already prepared the course 316 outbound Bravo Lima Victor on the nav radios, and so we proceed straight at 2DME, then a right-hand turn, intercept the 316 course till 4,000, and thereafter back to the VOR. We should be able to go back to nav when we're going back to the VOR, but at least the initial part we might have to do or we will have to do in heading select. Okay, so which threats do you see for the approach? Well, terrain is the one big threat we have. I do agree. How are we going to mitigate against that? We'll probably be inside the clouds as we do the initial stages of the approach, so we will be using the terrain display down here, and we can actually use that on both sides since weather is not going to be a factor today. Any other threat? No? Beautiful. Okay, then I'm off the radio, and I will do a quick PA to the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We've started our descent towards Bilbao with a remaining flight time of about 10 to 15 minutes. The weather in Bilbao at the moment is 22 degrees and a rather cloudy day. However, we do still expect some marvelous views of the arrival as we are getting into the final stages of our approach. We do thank you for choosing Iberia for today's flight. Hope that you have enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of a future flight. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, Takeoff below. Maybe now we have a little time to eat. A couple of crackers or some salami. I really do like these small things that they do in Horizon to make the cockpits look a little bit more lively. I do really like those. Maybe at the next step they could put a flight back down here or something the likes. Just a small thing though. So, something that's worth pointing out over here is the weather conditions that we're currently flying into. If you look outside the window, you'll see that basically the area that's clear of the mountains, or the area a little bit further inland, has very good weather conditions, while the area over the mountains and close to the shoreline is quite cloudy. Now, the reason this happens with the northerly winds that we have at the moment is that the winds are blowing the moist air from the Bay of Biscay over the mountains, which forces the air to go upwards. Now, ascending air cools down, which means it can hold less water, and that's why the water condenses and forms the clouds over those mountains over here. So that's quite a typical weather scenario that we are seeing right now. Alright then, let's go down all the way to the MSA. So, set QNH. QNH 1015 cross check, passing 16,400 now. Checked. Okay, seatbelts on. So, pretty short flight, but I'm fairly sure it is worth it, because I'm pretty sure we are going to have a very neat arrival. I do like those mountains close to, or generally those mountains in the north of Spain. Really beautiful area to fly in. Now, at my old airline, I used to fly into Santander. I've been in Vitoria, which is also close here. Unfortunately, never in Bilbao. Would have been nice, but unfortunately we didn't go there. However, Vitoria and Santander were really nice places, especially Vitoria had a really nice approach, but they did have lots of VFR traffic, which could have been quite a bit of an issue. Now, Santander has also been very nice, even though I only went there in the first half year at the airline. Thereafter, when I changed base from my new base, they didn't fly there. So, only got to see it a couple of times while I was really new to flying. Actually, one of my very first flights on the 737 at all went there. So when you start your line training, aka when you do the first couple of flights on the real aircraft, the first thing they do is that you will be sitting on the jump seat just observing some flights. And that's exactly what I did as well. 8 sectors, and the very first one was Santander. And that's probably a flight I'm gonna remember for long. And on that flight, someone raised a little bug in me by putting the mobile phone into the front of the window over here. So on the 737, you can do that very nicely. On the Airbus, unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to fit, but you can just put your phone right up here and just start recording, and it's gonna have very nice perspective here. Pretty much like this. Or more like this, which is a pretty cool perspective to do some time lapses. You've already seen some of those on the channel here, and you're probably gonna see more of those over the future. So, a couple of hills down here, but just 4,500 feet, so not gonna be much of a problem. And we can actually see them. Something you do see in northern Spain quite a bit is those wind turbines located on the ridges of the mountains. The good thing is, every wind turbine has to have a red light on top that has to be illuminated during hours of darkness. And that means that you can actually see quite a couple of the tops of the ridges that you have in this area. Unfortunately, you can't count on it, since it's Spain and not Germany, and that means Spain has quite some fewer windmills or wind turbines than Germany does. In Germany, you could probably tell every single one mountain if they did that very same principle. Okay, reaching 10,000. GPS primary, accuracy high, and engine mode selector norm. Okay, approach checklist please. Barrel ref, QNH 1015, seatbelts on, minimum, Sparrow 449er, auto brake, medium, engine start selector, norm. Approach checklist complete. Okay, company message. Let's see, how much delay do they want? 4 minutes. So let's see, what can we do there? What can we blame that on? Yeah, late arrival of pushback crew, 1 minute, and then 3 minutes for incorrect departure time. So 3 minutes, ODI, 1 minute, RLP. Okay, sent. A small delay like this one is always very easy to blame. Basically, you just put it on to 3 minutes for incorrect departure time on the ACARS. That's universally accepted, basically. And then you can do, you know, 1 minute on something. ATC startup delay also works very nicely all the time, because the airline has no way of checking whether there was an aircraft behind you blocking your push or something the likes. Okay, so down to 6,000, overflying Kama. The reason we had to do it this way is because of the MSA of 7,000 down to the south. And only once we're actually on the approach track, so passing Kama right now, we actually have the minimum of 6,000 that's applicable here. And then from 18.60 me we can descend 4,900. Okay, looks like the speed is not really coming back though, but we are still 20 miles out, so I'm not too worried about that for now. Alright, approaching those 18 point something DME, let's go ahead and descend 4,900. Set, 4,900 blue. Okay then, let's start slowing down. Gotta make use of the speed brake here. For some reason the airplane didn't really seem to calculate any speed reduction, which of course it should have done. Now Fenix did change the VNAV on this update. I wonder if that's a bug they introduced. Because obviously the plane should be able to slow down there without many problems. Okay, flaps 1, speed checked, flaps 1. Cleared for the approach. Glide slope localizer blue, Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2. And then we've got glide slope star, localizer capture. Go around altitude 6,000 set. Slight tailwind component, flaps 2. Speed checked, flaps 2. Let's see that from the cabin. That has to be such a beautiful approach. If you can just focus on looking outside, focus on the terrain in the real world. Okay, speed brakes in. And here we go. Okay, back inside, we got a little bit of flying to do. Looks like I guesstimated a good moment to retract the speed brakes. Speed is maintaining somewhere steadily around 170, in idle thrust on the glide slope. Perfect. Since the slope is a little bit steeper than usual, we will start to configure a tiny bit earlier, so normally would be about 6 miles. Today we'll do it at 7, just to be on the safe side here. Can already see the airport coming into view over there. Speed is already nice and slow. A little bit of tailwind component here, not much of a problem. Checked. Right, that's our cabin that is ready. Gear down. Flaps 3. Speed checked. Flap 3. And flaps full. Speed checked. Flaps full. Landing checklist. Econ memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Diving down into the valley here. Very nice rumbling sound of the engine. Sitting right next to it, pretty nice. Alright, so let's go ahead and fly the rest of the approach manually. Cat 1. So, quite a displaced threshold. The wind is still shifting around a little bit, but generally in the right direction and speed already.
1000.
Checked. Very scenic valley down here as well. So, looks like the wind is making the final turn towards a headwind now.
Above.
Checked. Land.
300. Minimum.
Continue.
300. 200.
Alright, let's make it a good one.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Okay, spoiler, reverse green, decel. Manual brakes. So that was strange. The touchdown zone markings indicated by the runway lights were not at all the same that were indicated by the markings on the runway. So which one do you follow now? We touched down inside the lights, but... well, interesting one. Very interesting one. I might have overflared a tiny bit since the aircraft had just climbed away for a second, but, well... we're here, we touched down inside those lights, just assuming that they stood for the touchdown zone. So, well, we made it, here we are, welcome to Bilbao. Let's go ahead and taxi into the apron, and then I'm excited to see what kind of brake temperature we are going to get after using auto brake medium here. After landing checklist, radar predictive wind shear, off. After landing checklist complete. So taxi in will be fairly straightforward. We're on Tango down here. We'll go left on the Bravo and then enter the stands at the main terminal up there. So anything between stand 1 and 6. Let's see if what is available. Everything. Okay, well, we'll take number 3 then. Follow me, no thanks. Handling by Iberia. I do like these small airports. Airports like Bilbao, especially when they're located in such a beautiful terrain over here. Really, always very nice to fly into. Okay, approaching Bravo over here. Turning left onto the apron. So, APU avail. But, well, we're an A321, you're landing at something like 72 tons at the moment. Let's keep both engines running. Let's not do single engine taxi. I'm just afraid the plane might not be able to turn into the gate there. When we have to stop here on the left turn with only the left engine running, that is probably not exactly the best conditions at this high gross weight. So we'll keep both engines running. Alright, going rather slow here, 7 knots only, but there's no sense in accelerating back towards 10 right now. That would really only be a waste of fuel. Okay, elec pump on. Once we've done the left turn, then I'm going to shut down engine number 2. So a little bit of power on number 1, just not to lose too much speed here. So here's our gate. Let's start the left-hand turn and shut down 2. That way we can save at least a little bit of gas. Even though it might just be, you know, half a liter. But hey. 1 liter of Afghan, or 1 liter Jet A1 comes at about $1.80. So, saving some money here. And here we go. Cutting through Old Dawson Park. Alrighty. So, running down. And once we're below 20% N2, we can turn off the beacon. Keep an eye on the slides. Once they are all disarmed, we can turn off the seat belts. Okay, 22 degrees and cloudy. Let's turn off the APU. Parking checklist. Park and brake or chocks. Brake set. Engines off. Fuel pumps off. And wing light off. Parking checklist complete. If you're wondering why I forgot the wing light a couple of times recently, that's because on the A330 checklist you don't actually have it on there. Because on the A330 the wing light can't cause the same trouble that it can on the A321. Alright, so then transponder standby. Let's check our fuel usage. Even usage on both engines. Even distribution, looking very good. And the IRS performance down here is looking very good as well. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. I sure hope that you liked this one. Let me know your feedback in the comments below. I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one. And in the meantime, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the latest Fenix update. And last but not least, if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link on the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.